Well, hello students, I'm your instructor, Dr. Alicia Belcher. In this video, we will address several common misconceptions that students have when working with exponents. We will work examples involving the 7 major laws of exponents, and I would suggest that you work these problems along with me and make notes regarding these 7 laws. So the first example that we're going to work uses the multiplying power law. So when multiplying powers with the same base, you keep the base and add the exponents. So if you look here, we have the same base of a, so we're going to keep that base. Then we're going to add our 2 exponents, which are 5 and 2, giving us an answer of a to the 7th. Our next example is going to look at the dividing powers law. So when dividing powers with the same base, you keep the base and subtract the exponents. So here we have the same base of x, so we're going to keep that base, and then we're going to subtract our 2 exponents of 12 and 4, giving us an answer of x to the 8th. The next example that we're going to work through uses the power of a power law. So when raising a power to a power, you just multiply your exponents. So this would give us 5, and then we would multiply our exponents, 2 times 3, giving us a final answer of 5 to the 6th. The next example we're going to work through uses the product law of exponents. So in simple terms, this rule just states that when taking the power of a product, you apply the exponent to all factors of the product. So doing that, we would apply this exponent here, so that would be x to the 3rd, and we would apply it to the y, so y to the 3rd. So your answer here is just x to the 3rd, y to the 3rd. So our next example, we use the quotient law of exponents. In simple terms, this law states that when you take the power of a quotient, you apply the exponent to each part of the quotient. So here we would say 3 squared over 2 squared. So we've applied this exponent to each part of the quotient. So 3 squared is 9, and 2 squared is 4, giving us a final answer of 9 over 4. So next I want to talk to you about the negative law of exponents. What this law says is when you have a negative exponent, you use the inverse or reciprocal and drop the negative sign. So let me show you what I mean. If we have 3 to the negative 8, we can't leave this negative exponent. So the first thing I'm going to do is turn this into a fraction. So you can do that by placing this term over 1. So here our numerator is 3 to the negative 8, and our denominator is 1. So using the negative law of exponents, we're just going to find the reciprocal and drop the negative sign. So finding the reciprocal means I will move the denominator to the numerator and the numerator to the denominator and drop my negative sign. So let me just go through another example to make sure you understand. So if we were given a to the negative 4th, we can't use that negative sign. So I'm going to turn it into a fraction. I'm going to find the reciprocal and drop the negative sign. So this rule, this negative law of exponents, also applies if your negative is in the denominator. So if you were given a problem like 1a to the negative 2, you would still just find the reciprocal and drop your negative sign. So you would move the 1 to the bottom and the a squared to the top and drop your negative. So just as another example of that, if you had 1 over 7 to the negative 4th, you would just move that here, drop your negative, and that's just the same as 7 to the 4th. So the final thing I want to talk to you about is the zero law of exponents. So what this tells you is that anything raised to the 0 power equals 1. So because this entire term is raised to the 0, it would be 1. Similarly, 5 to the 0 is 1. 1/3 to the 0 is 1. All of these things are 1. So I hope this video has been helpful in clearing up any misconceptions you may have had about working with exponents.